Well, it was the morning after. What a send-off for the man from Siparia via Tobago yesterday next to Stuart Blacks. After the funeral, you saw what happened, coming down Frederick Street in Port of Spain, going out in a blaze of glory, as it were, Blacks. Good morning. This is April 7th, this Thursday morning. Welcome to the program. We'll tell you what's coming down the pike here on AM Prime. We'll be talking with Ms. Laura Dowridge about the powers of the internet and the rest of the things that make up social media in the country. We'll tell you why when we get to that. That's in the second hour of the program. We will take a look around the region. We'll tell you what some latest developments in Belize and in Jamaica. Also, we're talking with the Chief Executive Officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association. They conducted what they said was an extremely successful trade mission to Guyana a couple of weeks ago. They're back in the country. Mr. Ramesh Ramdeen will tell us about that, the highlights of that. They're talking about the prospects of increasing business relations and business ties between Guyana and Trinidad and Tobago. We have the numbers as usual. We'll tell you where we stand with COVID-19 in our midst today. We'll tell you what's in the newspapers, but right now, with us in the Zoom, Mr. Marlon David. He's the executive coordinator of the Minority Council at the Tobago House of Assembly. That's the PNM side there. And they have decided they will check the PDP in what it is doing. He says there are a number of matters that are of concern as the administration there emerges with its plan of action and its program. This is a list of some of the things that they say coming out of an executive council meeting yesterday that they want to be addressing, and they want to get answers from the administration in Tobago on that. They include what they call a wave of terminations, improper recruitment processes in the Works Division in particular, a 100-day mandate presentation, Tobago-centric curriculum, Scarborough development consultations, and a report from the Dubai Investment Mission. We'll get to that in a moment on the other side of this break. Stay with us. We're just beginning here with AM Prime on this Thursday morning.
Say hello to the newest way to access eye care support. Say hello to Ferrera Optical Virtual Care. For the first time in TNT, you can now connect from the convenience of your home with our team of eye care professionals online. Need guidance on a vision problem or adapting to new eyewear? Book a virtual visit via FerreraOptical.com using our smart scheduler, and we'll take care of the rest. Ferrera Optical Virtual Care, connecting with you wherever you are.
What's the best way to grab the attention of viewers?
Please exercise more patience. You have to be kidding me.
Doing what we do best.
I'll say at the very least it's a conspiracy of laziness against the people.
Join me, Keaton Shaw.
And me, Sean Michael Small, for Talking Point.
Weekdays from 8 a.m. to 9:30 a.m.
We go in-depth on the trending issues and engage the most controversial newsmakers
as we get them to account to the people for their actions.
You can't go to the government with nothing. You can't go to cabinet with an empty hand, with a wish.
I'm glad that we're having this a sober, mature discussion.
In the present situation, I expect a continuation of the chaos.
Join us for the discussion, Mondays to Fridays,
only on WASN,
the content capital.
People really want to know, what about me? Where do I fit?
Yes.
What is in the ride for me in terms of a better Trinidad and Tobago? And I'm pleased to shed some light on that.
The purpose of bail is to ensure your attendance at court. That's it. It is not punitive, it is not rehabilitative.
We the police officers, we are professional, and we are here for whenever the survivor is ready to come forward.
We have the right to private and family life, the right to religious freedoms and beliefs and thoughts and expression. But these rights are not absolute. Certain rights can be limited.
The law is to govern the whole, is for all of us in public.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m., only on WESN, Content Capital.
Today I'm excited because we're talking about medicine the Gray's way. Yes, we're talking to Dr. Raquel Soupir from Gray's Medical.
Because now I realized, like, the secret, the key. If you give somebody the body they want or the confidence that they're looking for, and you make sure that they know that they have to work really hard to keep it, guess what? They're going to be really healthy.
Tell us a little bit about stretching and the importance of what it is or what it does to your body.
It is really important to stretch your muscles. You can stretch before and after working out. It can limit or reduce your injury, also able to improve your flexibility.
What's up, Doc? Tuesdays and Thursdays here on WESN, Content Capital.
The issue, the continued rise in the price of flour and its impact on the cost of living in Trinidad and Tobago. How should we go about it? I want to ask you, what has been revealed to you about the state of vulnerability in the country because of this exercise and because of what we're going through? Is the government losing the war on the vaccine front?
The discussion should revolve around the common good for the greatest number of people in Trinidad and Tobago.
How do we inculcate a sense of respect and regard for people who may not be of your own political ilk or persuasion?
The communities are now being used by political opportunists. So
when the tables are turned, it's the same way. Okay, this has been 10 questions. I'm Andy Johnson, and we'll see you next time.
It may seem like the hardest thing to do right now, but we all need each other to wear a mask, wash our hands, watch our physical distance, and stay at home. We need you safe. Together we can make the difference. Together we can curb the spread of COVID-19. So let's be responsible in our actions.
The Trinidad and Tobago Red Cross Society. Mission-based, people-focused, community-driven.
All right, welcome back. Well, let's go over the list again. It says here, a wave of terminations, improper recruitment processes in the Works Division, the 100-day mandate presentation, Tobago-centric curriculum, Scarborough Development Consultations, and the Dubai Investment Forum report. This is among a list of possible indictments that the Minority Council in the Tobago House of Assembly has against the current administration. This following the election of a new administration after 21 years in a new administration in the Tobago House of Assembly. And that's part of the list of issues they say they want to prosecute with how the current administration is conducting business. To help us understand that, Mr. Marilon David, he's the executive coordinator of the THA Minority Council. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Andy. Let me say thank you for the invite and the opportunity to be here this morning.
All right, don't mention it. Well, let's start with the one that struck out at me, because when I saw it being reported a couple of days ago, myself, I wondered what was that about. A Tobago-centric curriculum for schools in Tobago. Let's talk about what is proposed there and what's wrong with that.
And I'm glad that you would have brought that up, Andy, because it is also very confusing to us. On Monday night, I did an interview where one of the things discussed was this particular initiative. And whilst what we look at, and when we see the way that this present administration is administrating, the word that came to mind is simply fluff. And they did a presentation on Monday, which was supposed to be a list of accomplishments of the division. And this was one of the initiatives spoken of. But the questions to be asked are simply, what does Tobago-centric mean? What is a Tobago-centric education curriculum? And in answering that particular question, there are a number of factors that must be taken into consideration. We are part of a union of Trinidad and Tobago, a twin island state, and we are part of what the regional accreditation system with respect to CXC, CAPE, and so on. And we are seeing here now something being said that, listen, we want to become Tobago-centric. And I ask the question, is it that we want to now centralize the education curriculum for our children in Tobago? Is it that we want to now begin to study more things that are generic to Tobago? If that is in fact the case, what is the accreditation body that is going to certify our young people? We would have heard this present administration speak about making Tobago international. But how can our young people and our intellectual property be marketed to the world if there's no accreditation process? If the things that we are studying or preparing them for are only preparing them to operate within the Tobago landscape, and I'm saying Tobago landscape because even within the Union of Trinidad and Tobago, there are certain dynamics that are different. There are things that you are exposed to in Tobago that you may not necessarily be exposed to in Trinidad. And so even with a Tobago quote-unquote centric type education curriculum, when our children go down to Trinidad for one or more reasons, whether it is to pursue tertiary education and so on, how are they going to now cope with the curriculum that is in Trinidad that is aligned to the Caribbean and the region and so on, and international standards? So I think that it was just one of those terms that are used to gain public perception, because one of the things that in Tobago, Tobagonians are very proud people, and when you say something that is Tobago-centric, it is readily embraced. However, what I would have pointed out is that we are hearing a lot of initiatives in terms of the what. But what we are not hearing is the how. How are we intending to make this Tobago-centric framework? And another word that was used by the Education Secretary in her presentation was that in the process of doing this, they have developed already a theoretical framework. And I'm asking the question, what exactly is a theoretical framework? We all understand that in terms of the way that you manage, the whole process of management, you begin with the end in mind. You understand what your end product should be, what it should look like.
And you work back from that.
How it should ideally come across.
Yeah.
And yet still you're saying to us in a presentation where you're supposed to be identifying accomplishments, that you've developed a theoretical framework, but you're not saying to us what it is.
All right, but you're saying you're hearing a lot about the what? You're hearing that from people on the street, people who may have...
I'm talking about the administration.
Yeah.
We are hearing a lot in terms of initiatives.
Yes.
We are going to do this and we are going to do that. When this year began, the administration would have held a retreat at the Rovenel Resort. And at the end of that, the Honorable Chief Secretary would have presented a list of objectives to be completed at the end of the first quarter. We are at that place, and I think and we believe very much, Andy, that what we saw on Monday was simply a sort of smoke screen, because 41 initiatives were identified on the 9th of January in that particular press conference, as things that would have been completed at the end of the first quarter. But when you really go through the list of the 41 items, the 41 objectives, not many have been completed. And many of them, we would have seen one or two things in the last week or so, the administration now rushing to begin what they call the consultation process. And you know, what we are saying is that this administration is striving on its strategy of creating a public perception. And they're selling Tobago dreams. And I mean, people have fallen for it with the election, and many persons have now begun to realize that it's just simply talk. We have a number of issues right now circulating in the court of public opinion, even in Tobago presently, and we're seeing those are the evidence that the things that the PDP would have campaigned on in terms of their promises, in terms of those quote-unquote pillars of their governance, we're seeing even within the first quarter of their first term, the first couple of months, we're seeing a moving away, as it were. And so what we're saying is that come to us straight. Come to us with the how. We're talking about Scarborough developing. And this is a magnanimous project by any means. Any project manager would say to you that this is a major project.
So what's the latest word on that then? Let's talk about that. And I want to get to the point about...
Even in the presentation on Monday, what was said is that having gone through the first rounds of consultation, they would now return to the public sometime, I believe, in August with a second round of consultation. But what we're saying, Andy, is that these things are not adding up. We would have had consultations where you would have seen officials who have been identified by the Secretary of Works, and some of them would have been engaged and in their words, even up to as much as a year ago, and to work on this project. And they're coming to us now and saying to us, listen, this is a plan that we want to execute, but we want consultations to take place. And having had some consultations in the first instance, you're now saying that you want to go, change the imagery, change some of the plans, and come back to the Tobago populace and ask again, okay, are you satisfied with this? But what we're seeing here, Andy, is that a number of things have not been taken into consideration. And again, this is the modus operandi of this administration. We would have had, even over the last couple of weeks, things taking place in the Tobago space where there's no consultation process. We would have seen things happening with respect to even the taxi drivers, signage put up. And people are now speaking out because it's as if you don't even matter. Decisions are being made. Decisions are being executed. Things are just popping up on a day-to-day basis. And there's no consultation to the major stakeholders. And we are calling on this administration to become more accountable to the people of Tobago.
To do more explaining. Right. So let's talk about the allegation about the wave of terminations. Is it in the Works Division?
Well, we have just up to last week, about a week ago, we would have seen the shutdown of the Community Partnership Unit, which functions out of the Office of the Chief Secretary. And again, Andy, it is a sad thing when we use terms like restructuring. And what we are really seeing is that families are being affected negatively. The PDP campaigned all the way through to the December 6th election, even up to when we had the 6-6 deadlock. One of the pillars of their campaign was that no terminations. People would not be affected. There would not be job losses. But again, Andy, it was inconsistent with some of the narratives that they were creating. We would have seen the PDP political leader and deputy political leader, who is now the chief secretary, sit on a morning show and say that the THA has too many workers. It's overloaded. And then when they were checked on it by the media, they would have danced back and said, well, no, that's not what they mean. But here it is, after campaigning on a pillar that no job losses and that Tobagonians have nothing to worry about. After coming into office in the 6th of December, one of the first things that they started doing is terminating persons under the banner of these are what they call political hires.
Yeah, and that is political hires.
Yet another term that is very ambiguous. And we are asking these questions because the role of the minority council is advocacy, but also to hold this government and this administration in Tobago accountable for the things that they are doing. And when you spew out a term such as political hires, we are at a loss trying to understand what does that term actually mean. And is it that you are creating a narrative or developing a culture that if someone is openly affiliated or aligned to any particular political party that may not be the one that you head or that you are a part of, that person or that individual would be blacklisted. And we have been seeing a number of persons falling under this particular banner where there are not open terminations in groups as 17 and 21 persons being sent home, Andy. We're hearing of stories. Persons are calling because one of the initiatives that we've launched out of the Minority Council is something called ITEL. And that is idea was to do a program where you can call in anonymously or we are presently building out a virtual platform and an app where you can go onto that platform and air your concern, whether it's industrial relations related or so on, and you can provide information anonymously to us of wrongdoings within different divisions.
All right, and there's a
receiving calls from persons
right.
who are not getting their contracts renewed for no particular reason.
All right, and on that list as well is you're calling for some accountability. What you say has been the Dubai investment mission.
Well, Andy, again, that is another sore point right now in Tobago. We would have had a brilliant opportunity with the Dubai Investment Forum, which the government of Trinidad and Tobago would have participated in. In that particular forum, Tobago would have sent a delegation to be part of the national delegation. And there was a number of hiccups in the initial process. We would have seen the minority leader and minority councillor call for some accountability, even in the House, by asking some questions with respect to the deputy political leader. And why is it that the THA had to now be out of pocket for a trip that the government was paying part for, and that the government of Dubai was also sponsoring the deputy political leader? Nevertheless, we would have seen out of pocket in the excess of over $100,000 being paid to procure a ticket earlier than usual, and so on. Now, even if that took place in the beginning of the process, we had a number of inconsistencies on the trip. And then the trip comes to an end. This is an investment forum, again, where the PDP administration would have campaigned and said that part of their plan is to make Tobago an investment opportunity. And we are told that the deputy political leader was having conversations with potential investors and would have remained and so on to have these conversations. Yet still, since that Dubai forum has come to an end and all the delegates have returned, we have yet to see a report come forward.
And you've asked for one?
Excuse me?
You've asked for one?
Several times, and the call for a report has not only come from the minority council, but we are seeing a number of persons within the Tobago community, business persons and otherwise, asking, well, where is the report? What was discussed? Who are these persons that we are hearing of as potential investors? One of the things that struck out to us really a lot, Andy, in terms of that trip, is that when the deputy political lead, the deputy chief secretary and political leader of the PDP made a presentation, it had nothing to do with the run-of-the-mill presentations or the consultations that we had seen taking place in Tobago with respect to the development of the city of Scarborough. What we saw presented in Dubai as an investment opportunity is the development of the city of Roxborough, which is within the electoral district of the political leader of the PDP. And we are saying that this is a very ad hoc way for governance to unfold. We have seen, a remarkable opportunity with this Dubai trip for us to really get Tobago on the map and to really discuss some real opportunities for investing in Tobago, whether it be through tourism and so forth, whether it be to develop lands, whether it's whatever, maritime as the case may be. But the opportunity was on the table, and we saw something that was ill-prepared. It did not make sense. The presentation was poorly executed, and we are saying to the chief secretary and the administration that Tobago deserves better than this in terms of representation, especially on an international platform.
Yeah, well,
and we think that it was an embarrassment to us here.
Right, you're saying fundamentally the focus on Scarborough, the promise for Scarborough, has been shifted to Roxborough, and that was not on what the list of promises going in.
That is the thing, and right now we don't know. We are in abeyance as it pertains to what exactly is the plan of the administration, because you are hearing one thing in certain quarters, and then you are seeing something else coming out in other quarters, and there is no cohesion. You're asking questions even when the media would have approached the deputy political leader of the PDP and asked her, she's also the Secretary of Health, and asked her with about the trip, the Dubai trip and so on. She was clueless. She had no information. She didn't know anything about the arrangements and so on. And we are seeing a level of disorganization in this administration that speaks volumes in terms of there is no alignment to what we are seeing now in relation to the promises made to the people of this island in the build-up to the election. And this is the that we are seeing. The Honorable Chief Secretary is playing a chess game, and or let me say draft, as it were, just shifting. And we heard him say that on Monday, any secretary he would have handed out what they call mandate letters. And again, these are terms that nobody is giving a true explanation of. But he would have given mandate letters to secretaries. And he's saying that if, in his opinion, when they report to him, he's not satisfied, he will do as much as shifting them around or even removing them entirely from the Executive Council.
All right.
And this is 3 months in.
All right. We're going to go, but let me just ask you, I'm not up on what transpired with the discussions over the appointment of Dr. James by Mr. James, or at least the offer coming from him for that position on the Studley Park board. What transpired yesterday? So is he still on the team or not?
Well, he is still presently on the team, but we saw the Chief Secretary now saying to the public that he will put the decision under review. And Andy, this is our point. What was considered before, because the Chief Secretary presides over the Executive Council, who approves these positions. So if it is that he was satisfied then that this clear infraction and this clear conflict of interest, you were comfortable to approve it at that point in time, is it now that the Court of Public Appeal has spoken loudly that you are now shifting your preferences in another direction? And we are asking the Honorable Chief Secretary, is it that his understanding of what is right and wrong in the public domain is dependent on what the public perception is? Or is it that he's making decisions based on clear-cut advice?
Yeah, but he said that to some extent. He said it's nothing wrong with the appointment, nothing wrong with Dr. James's suitability for it. He's talked about how he's immensely qualified and the rest of it. But he says that precisely because of the sentiment in the public and the level of questioning about it, why he's doing that. You think that is?
Well, Andy, that means that something has to be wrong, because if the general public is crying out over this appointment, then something must be wrong. And it is only upon that premise that the Chief Secretary has now indicated that he has to review the decision.
Yeah.
So we await that review and the outcome of it to see if he's going to hold with it or if he's going to make the necessary changes.
All right, Mr. David, thank you very much for talking with us on these matters. We will continue to watch them.
Thank you very much, Andy.
All right, Marilyn David, the Executive Coordinator of the THA Minority Council, sort of trying to checkmate or to check the performance and the decision-making at the administration, at the THA. We're going to take a break. When we come back, we share with you the numbers as we go forward here on this Thursday morning on AM Prime on WESN.
Change your fate. Start to win at life with $20,000 every month. Win $20,000 every month for 20 years with NLCB's newest game, Win for Life. 6 numbers from 28 plus the cash ball could make you win for life. You deserve a win. Play Win for Life today. Visit NLCBGames.com for details. Players must be 18 years and over. Please play responsibly.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix-It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix-It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
Pretend we're in darkness, and you love me.
We Comedy Jam Season 3 is finally here.
Trinity people, just give you landmarks you don't need. On the right hand side, you'll see a standpipe. I put on this P on that standpipe. To me, COVID is a red girl, yes? I have no money.
Tune in to WESN every Monday from 8 p.m. to hear your favorite comedians bring you the laughs.
So from above the waist, Indian, but below the waist, still Indian. So.
That's not all. Catch us for a repeat every Thursday.
Where's a little bit of wrinkle when you're steamy, right? You know what I mean?
We Comedy Jam only on WESN, your content capital.
Welcome back to the program. Up ahead, our discussion with Mr. Ramesh Ramdeen, Dr. Ramesh Ramdeen. He's the Chief Executive Officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association. They led what they said was a successful investment mission, business mission to Guyana. They're back now. They're saying that their prospects are plenty for continued trade relations between the two countries, between the two chambers of commerce there and here. But before we get to that, however, let's take a look at the numbers this morning. The new positive cases, the total active cases, the number of people in hospital with COVID-19, what the numbers are. And then we get, on the back of that, the New Day poll, 129,221 total recovered patients, 6,406 the total active positive cases. The death toll thus far, 3,770, 139,397 the total positive cases reported since March 12, 2020 to now. 283 the new positive cases reported in the 24 hours up to the end of the day yesterday, and 156, that's the number of persons in the hospital system, what they call the parallel healthcare system, dealing strictly with COVID-19. So those are the numbers on this morning from the counting ending yesterday. So let's get through the Newsday poll and the responses to that. Are you comfortable with the state having equipment to monitor people? If so, why? If not, why not? And here are some of the responses, just a few. You use the word monitor. The person says macroing will be better. One other response, they need to monitor themselves. They are the biggest crooks. And interesting, because they have full authority to spy on citizens, but who is spying on these politicians? Although I have no cocoa in the sun, but still feeling stripped of my personal space. Again, who is spying on these politicians? They are managing the country's affairs. So those are the responses to that question. How do you feel about the state having equipment to spy on citizens? Well, the government is saying, well, they're spying on people who need to be spied on, people who are doing wrong things and people who are acting ultra-vires the law. And that's what it's about, and that's as simple as it can be. And understandable as it can be. That's the argument from the state side. But the question is, to what extent is being kept within the remit of what it's said for? And those are always suspicions that people have. All right. So we're talking now with Dr. Ramesh Ramdeen, the Chief Executive Officer of the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association. A report in the paper on Sunday, TTMA had said many benefits to be gained from the TT Guyana trade. And they went there with a large group of people. You see, there was a picture in the paper with a couple dozen people celebrating that fact and that mission. Dr. Ramdeen, good morning. Good to see you.
Good morning, Mr. Johnson.
All right, good to have you. Well, let's talk a little bit about what you all did, what you discovered, what you came back with. And I'm seeing some reporting here which says that on the Guyana side, the people there are saying that they welcome Trinidad and Tobago business people more than they are already. This report I'm looking at said there are currently more than 40 Trinidad and Tobago businesses which have been operating in Guyana for years, and it names some of them, and they're looking for more. And you all say that, well, there are lots of prospects there. Take it from there.
Yeah, well, first of all, let me say that it was a very successful engagement with the Guyanese people. We took 27 companies actually to Guyana, and we were joined there by a couple others. So in total, we had about 40 companies there, 39, 40. The mission was one that speak to seeking out market opportunities for manufacturers in Trinidad and Tobago. But beyond that, we were looking for manufacturers from Trinidad and Tobago. We're looking to source material from Guyana as well as input into manufacturing. We also had a couple of distributors who went with us who were looking to source items to bring to Trinidad and Tobago. As a matter of fact, we had a very successful engagement with one of our manufacturers / distributors, Pepe Marketing. They were able to get sale orders for goods, especially the beans and legumes and processed items like that, to the Guyanese market, but they were also able to source material, flour, rice, and oil to bring to Trinidad and Tobago. So that was a very successful engagement that speaks to both items from Trinidad and Tobago going to Guyana and items from Guyana coming to Trinidad and Tobago. We also had persons who were looking to invest in real estate to build factory space and a number of different things. And we had a couple of companies who were looking at joint venture opportunities. In fact, as I speak to you, I have 2 companies traveling back to Guyana today. One going up today and one going up next week to solidify and sign off on opportunities that speak to joint venture type operation, collaboration, contract manufacturing, and that kind of thing. So it was a very successful engagement. The Guyanese people were very welcoming. Yes, there was some anti-Trinidad sentiment, and a lot of it, I would say, stems not from any Guyanese having challenges with Trinidad and Tobago goods, because our goods are of a very high quality and standard. A lot of it has to do with perception of how Guyanese were treated years gone by when they came into Trinidad and Tobago and that airport experience. So 9 out of 10 Guyanese that we speak to would have had some kind of level of anti-Trinidad sentiments, cited that as the main reason for it. But we were there at the most opportune time to try to pacify that kind of growing anti-Trinidad sentiment, and it's working. I think we have a very good relationship with the Guyana Manufacturers and Service Association. They met with us. They came to Trinidad. They are coming to Trinidad again. They spoke at our AM event day before yesterday. The president spoke at our event. I, and together with Mr. Navin Dukaran from Exim Bank, met with the president and the vice president of Guyana, and we had very cordial relationship and discussions and commitment to work to resolve matters. The big issue, as you know, is the local content government procurement framework that they have across there. In conversation with the relevant authorities, we are made to understand that it's predominantly related to the oil and gas sector at this point in time. You need to understand that the Guyanese are trying to secure their resources, their natural resources. There is a certain level of apprehension about Trinidadians want to come there and tell them how to engage their process. I don't know how much truth it has to that, but you're hearing some of that. But I don't think that is a major problem. I think we can overcome that, because at the end of the day, we need to understand that Trinidad has 100 years, over 100 years of history in the energy and oil and gas sector. And we could bring that experience to Guyanese, but we have to figure out how we're doing it. We can't beat our chest and say, this is how to do it, and and this is how to do it, and just ram it down their throats. We need to have cordial relationship. We need to have partnering, because Guyana need that level of expertise. They need that level of input. They need that level of partnering. And if it's not Trinidadians, they will look elsewhere to get it. Really important, and the Guyanese have come to realize that as well, because they're speaking about not traveling the similar road that Trinidad did, and they need to diversify the economy, safeguarding them against the Dutch disease and those kind of things. So really important to them would be the Trinidad and Tobago market, because if they do build up their non-energy manufacturing sector and capabilities in that area. They need to sell their goods and services, and the closest market to them, relatively large market to them, is Trinidad and Tobago. Of course, Brazil is there and other countries like that, but those are non-CARICOM markets. So if they decide to go into those markets, they have to pay duties to go into those markets, and they will be relatively uncompetitive. The closest market to them to export their goods to duty-free would be Trinidad and Tobago. Suriname is there as well, which is a CARICOM market, but that's 400,000 people. You're talking about 400,000 to 500,000 people. Trinidad is 1.5, 1.4, 1.5, depending on who you speak to, 1.7. Somewhere around there. So we probably is the most attractive market to the non-energy export. So they need to continue the cordial relationship with Trinidad and Tobago. The talk about pulling out of CARICOM and that kind of thing, I think it's just political talk at this point in time. That's my personal opinion. I think the CARICOM region and the CARICOM framework is much too much important to Guyana and Trinidad and all of us in CARICOM. So at times you may hear one or two countries speaking that language, but I don't think it will materialize.
So there are people on the ground who saying that.
CARICOM framework is here to stay, and we need to build on the synergies and advantages there are between both countries.
So there are people on the ground in Guyana, in Georgetown, let's say, who are talking that about Guyana considering pulling out of CARICOM?
Well, if you heard, I mean, I'm sure you would have heard the language came from at the political level.
Yeah.
So the people on the ground level is probably just echoing what was said, but it's not really a big noise. You know, you're hearing one or two people may speak to something like that. So, but that came at the political level. One minister made that reference to that possibility, but I didn't get that sentiment from the highest office holders in Guyana when I spoke with them.
Yeah, because Guyana was one of the 4 original signatories to the Treaty of Chaguaramas.
Exactly.
Yeah. All right. But there is this sense of apprehension among at least some people about Trinidad and Tobago citizens feeling that we are superior with our experience with oil and energy, and probably want to come there and take over what they want to do. And there's apprehension on the ground or in decision-making circles.
There is some noise. Understand, Andy, I went there on a non-energy engagement, right? But you're hearing, you remember we represent the Trinidad and Tobago Manufacturers Association who speak for non-energy exports. So our primary interest was in that particular area. But in engaging with the Guyanese people on the ground level, you're hearing some sentiments of people think that Trinidad feels that inherently they are better than the Guyanese people. And I can give you one practical example that one of my manufacturers gave to me.
Yes.
In years gone by, we would have gone to Guyana and engaged in negotiations. And, you know, the Guyanese who would have come to the table would have been not as abrasive and forthright. You know, they were relatively timid at the table. I'm talking about years gone by in negotiation. Today, and it's really good for them, this is not a bad thing for them. When they come to the table now, they are a lot more assertive, they are a lot more positive, they are a lot more pointed, asking, you know, pertinent questions for what they want. And this is really good. I mean, this speaks to a level of confidence you see in the Guyanese people now. But it'll also allow them to say, you know, you guys have treated us really bad in the past. You guys don't know everything because you didn't optimally utilize your resources as you should have. And it has some level of truth to that. You know, we all will say that we could have done better with what we have, but you can't take away from the fact that Trinidad and Tobago has 100 years, 100 and more years in oil and gas, and some of the top oil and gas producers in the world over, not just in Trinidad, but those companies that have existence all over the world hire Trinidadians, seek out Trinidadians because we bring that level of experience, knowledge, and know-how. We have some of the best geologists, we have some of the best drillers, people working in platform builders. Funny enough, it may not be appropriate to say it at this point in time, but we have some of the best underwater divers, welders, and all those different things. So we have a very good track record. Sometimes that track record allows us to be a little bold-faced about it.
A little cocky.
You know, we could be like that. We need to understand where the Guyanese people are coming from. I'm not here to defend the Trinidad bold-facedness, or for want of a better word. But I'm here to say that we are a country that has a lot of intelligent people, bright and intelligent people with a lot of history and a lot of know-how. We just need to know how to package that and present that, because there's a demand for that. There's a need for it in Guyana, and we need to build on that.
All right, so let's talk about you signed a memorandum of understanding with the Guyana Manufacturing and Services Association for cooperation among you all, or between you all, to assist with trade missions and exchange of information. So talk a little bit about that.
Yes, so that we signed that agreement to show commitment to partnering, cooperation, exchanging of ideas. So basically, it is a best endeavor engagement that speaks to assisting both of our associations. So let me give you an example. Guyana is again hosting the international trade show. It's called GAITEC in December. And they do have some experience in it, but they want to enhance their show to mirror what we have with our TIC. So I have offered the TTMA through the office of my president and my board and myself. We have offered the Guyanese Manufacturers and Service Association the opportunity to send 2 officers to come and work with us at TIC to spend some time, a month, 2 weeks leading into our Trade and Investment Convention in August. We will house them at the TTMA, put them up, work with our staff to get that transfer of knowledge, to assist them in that transfer of knowledge. And we have even offered to send someone to work with them for the GAITEC show. I don't see it as competition. I see it as a rising tide raise all ship, because at the end of the day, once Guyana economy is doing well and growing, it means that their purchasing power is improving, and Trinidad and Tobago has an opportunity to sell more goods and services to Guyana because the people are purchasing more. When Guyana is doing well, at this point in time, Guyana manufacturing non-energy sector cannot compete with us. They will take some time to get up to the level of competencies, but that's fine. That's how the world operate. But in the interim, they need to purchase goods. They need to purchase snacks. They need to purchase food. They need to get packaging material. So in speaking to them right now, when we went there, these are some areas they have significant interest in printing and packaging and purchasing these items to enhance their labeling requirement and all these different things. So the opportunities are there for Trinidad manufacturers to engage this process with Guyana.
And so this is kicking it off. And I'm going to go back to this point about, so at present, the story says here there are more than 40 companies, Trinidad and Tobago businesses operating there, which have been there for a number of years. So this is to build upon that.
Yes, so we have established companies there. The Massey Group, Ansa Macal has been there for over 40 years, yes. Actually, a number of their different subsidiaries are already there. We have Republic Bank is also there. Rams Logistics has been there for close to 10 years. So we have, if you go to Guyana, you will see for yourself those companies either in the manufacturing of goods, services, logistics, they're all there. So those are just some of the companies that I identified. Yeah.
And, there's this sort of underground discussion that just a couple of years ago, I was in Georgetown on an assignment and hanging out socially. Talking with people at different levels, and this group got together. One of them was a university professor, Guyanese, who was in Trinidad and Tobago at the time, and he was being heckled by some of his colleagues, and they were saying that, so you come home because you come to get foreign exchange here, to go back because you can't get foreign exchange in Trinidad.
That foreign exchange is an interesting situation. When we are having challenges to source foreign exchange in Trinidad and Tobago, there's no problem in Guyana. It's relatively easy. So that's why it's important to do business there as well for manufacturers from Trinidad to be able to source. What is also interesting, Andy, while we were there, as I said, we had some companies going to Guyana to engage in real estate opportunities, to purchase land for a number of different things, residential, commercial, factory shells, factory space, building, and a number of places that we went and visited were actually owned by Trinidadians, funny enough. So we have Trinidadians have done in the past some investment in land in Guyana already.
Yes, so you're saying that in a general sense, and probably more than that, all is well with relations in the private sectors between these two countries, and it will only get better.
Yeah, I firmly believe that that mission helped eradicate some of the anti-Trinidad sentiment. Don't get me wrong, there is anti-Trinidad sentiment. It is a problem that we face. The situation was bad at one point in time in Jamaica, as you are aware, and
yes.
Dr. Rowley spoke about alleviating those concerns, assisting and alleviating those concerns in Jamaica. He brought it back up recently in a platform. But the reality of the situation is that in Guyana, there is a anti-Trinidad sentiment, and I think a lot of it resonates in the energy sector specifically because, as I said, a lot of them, they don't like the fact that they feel Trinidad is telling them what to do. So maybe our approach to engaging with the Guyanese need to change. That would be my advice to those who want to go and engage in business in Guyana, especially in the energy sector. And that noise probably started at the political level and resonated somewhat with the general population. But I think the biggest issue with the Guyanese is how they were treated coming into Trinidad and Tobago. And of course, all of them weren't treated like that.
Yeah.
5%, because 95% of them would not have experienced that challenge coming into Trinidad and Tobago. But the 5% that would have experienced the challenges at the airport, and they referencing this bench that they were made to sit in and before entry, and spending 3, 4, 5 hours there being interrogated into all kind of different things. It's a really it's a challenge.
To move forward. But
99 people here, nobody tell you anything bad.
Exactly.
One bad experience, makes that 99 offer of good assistance go down the drain. So that is the real challenge lingering with a lot of Guyanese people, that experience.
But the road ahead is more positive than anything else. Dr. Randy, we got to leave it there. Thank you very much.
No problem, sir. Thank you very much for having me on, and good morning to all your audience. Sorry I was a bit late. I was having some technical challenges.
That's fine. Thanks for coming on, regardless. All right, so we're going to take a break now. The news at the top of the hour, and we continue on the other side. We're talking about the powers of social media, and we tell you why when we get to that with our guest, Laura Dowridge. Stay with us.
Seven is out. All day is in. WESN News on the hour.
In this season, we talk more about health, wellness, and everything in between. I am so excited to share with you everything about health and wellness so that you can design the life that you've always dreamed of. Join me here on What's Up Doc.
What's Up Doc? Tuesdays and Thursdays here on WESN, Content Capital.
Is it politics? What is it? Is it that nobody cares about sports?
The kind of support that sport used to get in the past is no longer here.
The thing is, taking a knee doesn't mean that that's the only thing you're doing on it.
Right.
Taking a knee along with other stuff.
Samantha, what are you looking forward to when you return home to Trinidad and Tobago after winning the title?
Thank you very much for speaking it into existence.
Is it no pressure on Nicholas Paul?
It makes me more motivated to work hard and to go out there and rep the white and black.
Why are we sending a team to the Winter Olympics?
There are a number of Trinbagonians who are in the diaspora and have grown up in winter sport. It's an opportunity that the Trinidad and Tobago Olympic Committee will not close the door on.
I also believe in the players that we have. Once you can motivate the players, you can get the best out of them.
Every day, we communicate through stories. Stories of ourselves, our challenges, our goals, our experiences, and our aspirations. Storytelling is an art that we have mastered. WESN Film Studios comprises a collaborative team of experts with extensive industry experience locally, regionally, and internationally. The ability of your business to successfully communicate with your preferred audience depends on the strength of the stories you tell. Your vision should be communicated in a high-quality, professional, and creative way. From concept to post-production, advertising to film, multi-camera productions, live events, streaming, and virtual conferencing, we are WESN Film Studio. Let your own unique voice be heard and your vision realized. Call us today at 628-5835 for your next production.
Let your voice be heard. Call Madam Fix It on WESN, the only place that effectively helps you with your woes. Having problems getting onto government agencies, water woes, NIS and pension problems, potholes, and much, much more. Call me, Madam Fix It, every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on WESN. Let me fix it for you.
Burning questions, urgent topics. Welcome back to One on One, the show where we tackle the most current and pertinent subjects that are affecting all citizens, where we ask the hard questions and have in-depth conversations. What separates One on One from other talk shows is that the conversation stems from a younger perspective on topics that affect the fabric of our society. One on One, Wednesdays at 10 a.m. on WESN Content Capital.
Join me, Sule A. Joseph, as I delve into the day-to-day psychological issues plaguing our society. We will discuss behaviors that encompass the biological influences, social pressures, and environmental factors that affect how you think, act, and feel. Sight, Thursdays at 11:30 a.m. only on WESN Content Capital.
I am Rondell Donowa, attorney at law and host of Strictly Legal on WESN Content Capital. Strictly Legal is a legal program geared towards informing you, the public, of your legal rights, responsibilities, and remedies. So be viewing Thursdays 10 a.m. to 10:30 a.m.
A reminder from WESN. We urge you to protect yourself and others from the spread of COVID-19. Stay safe by taking some simple precautions. Clean your hands often. Use soap and water or an alcohol-based hand rub. Maintain a safe distance from anyone who is coughing or sneezing. Wear a mask. Don't touch your eyes, nose, or mouth. Cover your nose and mouth with your bent elbow or a tissue when you cough or sneeze. Stay at home. If you have a fever, cough, and difficulty breathing, seek medical attention. Following the above can help us all to help each other.
All right, welcome back to the program. Let's begin our look around the region. In fact, let's see if we can get this one in. If this time we do another one, they're talking about promoting better promotions for coffee in Jamaica. They say that the Blue Mountain coffee is about the most potent in the world. We at least could tell you that. Let's see if we can get to the video if there's time remaining after we finish with Laura Dowrich. But in this case here, in Central America, the CARICOM member state, Belize, they say there's increasing discussion about legalizing marijuana there. Take a look at this.
The calls for a referendum on the legalization of marijuana are increasing. The evangelical churches and the Council of Churches have taken an official position in support of a referendum. The United Democratic Party has since taken an official stance in support of the church's call for a referendum, but for different reasons. All this is happening following the passing of Cannabis Industrial Hemp Control and Licensing Bill through both the House of Representatives and the Senate. The government did, however, indicate that in the Senate, they would delay the implementation of the bill for further consultations. Before we look at the latest from the church and the opposition, News 5's Paul Lopez has the previous statements on record from the Ministry of Home Affairs, the opposition leader, the medical community, and the churches. All these entities have weighed in on the matter over the last 9 months.
The Cannabis Industrial Hemp Control and Licensing Bill has sparked division within society. The government of Belize and the opposition both appear to be in support of legalizing marijuana in Belize for recreational use. But the medical community holds some reservations, while the church has categorically objected the move. Karim Musa, the Minister of New Growth Industry, reasons that legalizing marijuana will decrease gang-related murders in Belize City.
All of these gang-related murders, they all stem from this very plant. And so we have to find a way to include these young men in a very responsible and safe system. So they have to be a part of the system in terms of dealing, but at the same time, we have to understand that is the root cause. Yes, there may be a continuation in terms of retaliations, but when you look at it, all of the illegal drugs, again, we don't know what is in these drugs coming across the border, but they also come along with illegal firearms. And that is something that we have to curtail. And again, that is something we're trying to fix. If we produce local marijuana for these young men to sell, then they won't have to buy and dodge the police and come in illegally with this foreign marijuana, which we don't know what is in there.
Moses Shine Barrow, the leader of the opposition, gave his support for the bill in 2021.
This is one of the times that I agree with the government. I applaud the government for taking such a bold step towards removing the criminality of cannabis consumption and cannabis trade, which has the criminalization of cannabis has impacted the poor and lower class for generations. So I applaud the government, Minister Karim Musa, for taking such a bold step that will not only reverse generations of discrimination and classism, but also help to boost our economy because the economic ramifications of the legalization of cannabis are tremendous.
All right, so that report was from Channel 5 in Belize. We go now to a report from the Public Broadcasting Corporation in Jamaica. Did you know there used to be, or there is, in fact, an annual Blue Mountain Coffee Festival in Jamaica? Well, there is that. That's one of their major products, Blue Mountain Coffee. And one minister is saying that this coffee is more potent than most, if not all, other coffees anywhere in the world. And they're encouraging Jamaicans to get involved more in planting more of the Blue Mountain coffees. Take a look at this.
Get into the business. Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett is urging Jamaican farmers to produce more coffee. He says coffee is a staple in Jamaica's agriculture and tourism industries. He was speaking in a forum alongside head of Sandals hotel chain, Adam Stewart, at the Blue Mountain Coffee Festival on Saturday.
The more coffee we have is the more we can bring the coffee aficionados from all over the world to come to Jamaica, and Destination Jamaica becomes a coffee destination.
That was a strong signal to the world that coffee will be playing a major role in the tourism industry. Minister of Tourism Edmund Bartlett was speaking with the host of the Blue Mountain Coffee Festival, Dr. Terry Carell Reed, staged at the historic Devon House. The festival was put on by the Tourism Linkages Network, a department of the Tourism Enhancement Fund, which is an agency of the Ministry of Tourism. Minister in charge of Tourism Edmund Bartlett stressed that there is still more that can be done with coffee, and his vision is to turn the Buff Bay Valley into a coffee mecca.
85% of our coffee product is still to be utilized to create jobs for the small farmers and the ordinary Jamaican who is into creative combination of great ideas. And that's something that we need to spend some time on for the coffee producers of Jamaica, the farmers, and those who are thinking of producing. And I want to encourage you to get into the business, because if one brand alone is looking to 20 million cups, multiply that by N, you mathematicians. and we understand how much more production.
Also sharing the stage with the minister was Executive Chairman of Sandals, Adam Stewart. He shared his plans for the new Sandals Hotel and his vision for a Blue Mountain tour.
So the fact that the government gave us a north-south highway, the fact that you can jump from Ocho Rios and be in the Blue Mountains within an hour makes the whole tour and coffee journey through a practical sense of reality.
Mr. Stewart touted the rich history of the Blue Mountain and that its history needed to be shared with visitors to the island.
What we did years ago in the hotel business, we're always in the quest to deliver more to our customers and give them a higher level of experience. And Jamaica Blue Mountain is the highest ranking coffee on the planet. It's ours, it's our backbone, it's grown here. It tells the story of Jamaica. It's a rich story. And it's a story in many ways that's undiscovered, that many don't know.
He gave his support to expand the use of Blue Mountain coffee within his hotel chain.
We made a switch. And we do a blend in our all in-room coffee and all coffee on property. And I think what's probably most cool, as we said to the minister a while ago, 10.4 million cups today, but in 5 years, that number will be in excess of 20 million cups of Jamaica Blue Mountain coffee poured not only in Jamaica, but in every one of our resorts across the Caribbean.
The Blue Mountain Coffee Festival was created in keeping with the ministry's objective to foster strategic growth of culinary tourism as a niche product for Jamaica, all in a centralized location. This year's festival took on a month-long list of activities to make up for the 2-year hiatus due to the COVID-19 pandemic. For PBCJ News, I'm Carla Thomas Hewitt.
All right, there used to be a song saying there's a whole lot of coffee in Brazil. And that was a song by Trinidadians out of England at the time. But when they sing there's lots more and better ones in Jamaica. So check that out if you of that mind. So we're talking now about what we call the social media edge. And I tell you, the conversation came to my mind when I heard somebody from the PNM side after the election in the THA on December 6th saying that the PDP won the election because they used social media better than the PNM. And the question is, what is the power? What is so explosive about social media? And I thought that probably the best person that I can have a conversation over that is this lady. I think I can remember the day that she entered the business in the traditional media a couple of decades ago, and she's gone on to be a towering figure in social media development in Trinidad and Tobago. Laura Dowridge, good morning, good to see you.
Good morning, Andy. How are you?
Good, thanks. Good, thanks. So, well, first, before we get there, you are listed here as the regional lifestyle manager for Loop News.
Yes,
Tell me what that means. What is
So for those who may not be familiar, Loop News is the region's largest digital media platform. We're across 6 islands in the Caribbean, and I manage lifestyle content for all the loops across the region.
What does lifestyle content look like? What does it mean?
So in traditional media, we call that features, right?
Yes, okay.
So everything that it covers, for us, it covers everything to do with the way people live, health and fashion, beauty. It runs the gamut. Travel, food, festivals.
Yeah. All right. So talk about why, like I say, this view was that. And this is Tracy Davidson making that point, that she felt that the PDP did a better job with its social media campaigning than the PNM, and that's what gave them the election. Why is that? What is it about it?
The reality is, Andy, social media is where everybody lives, practically. I was looking at some statistics for Trinidad and Tobago 2022, and it showed that over 750,000 people are now on Facebook, over 600,000 people in Trinidad and Tobago are on Instagram. The numbers are growing every year. People use social media. Now when something happens, people go to social media first to verify that this thing actually happens or to see if people are talking about it. Let's just think about earthquakes. As soon as you feel a tremor in your home, the first thing you do is go to Facebook to see if people are talking about earthquakes. This is just the platforms that people go to first. So it would make sense if you are running any kind of campaign, political or otherwise, that you incorporate social media as much as possible, especially depending on the demographic you want to reach. Now, people think social media is a young people thing, but it isn't. There are platforms where younger people are the primary demographics, but then you have platforms like Facebook where it's an older demographic that uses it. So you can use social media to reach different age groups. It depends on who you want to reach, and it just makes sense that you incorporate it into anything that you're doing.
Right, and there are media companies struggling with the idea of still holding on to what you call legacy media, or as opposed to making the shift, and that's a debate that's been going on with media executives at all levels for the last couple of years.
Of course, and it comes down to money, right, Andy? Let's be real.
All right.
You cannot. Legacy media is struggling to see the kind of profits they would have made in the pre-social media days.
Yes.
Especially when advertisers realize that they can get probably more return on their investment if they use social media platforms. It's cheaper. It's probably cheaper for them to advertise on social media. You can take Facebook, you can take ads, you can take what we call programmatic, and you can have them pop up on all the popular places your demographic will go to. It's easier to target the market you want to reach through the digital ads. So it is challenging for legacy media because you now have to marry several different ways. And that's the thing about technology. There's no one way to do something. It's several things that you have to do simultaneously in order to get the results that you're looking for.
Yeah, and sometimes it's humbling talking to people, particularly, youngsters, people are well informed about what is going on, but you tell them about, I had this piece in the Express yesterday, or I read that in the Guardian, or I listened to that on the radio. They say, I don't read newspapers.
Yeah, listen, and the key thing, and I've been telling people this for a long time, we look at the platforms themselves, and we have all these judgments about these platforms, right? And there are pros and there are cons to these social media platforms. But what we need to understand is that these social media has literally changed the way we behave. It has changed the way we consume information. That is a change that I don't know when or if it will ever be reversed, but it has changed the way we consume information. I am a media person, brought up, started in legacy media, learned everything in legacy media, never thought they'd reach a day when I wouldn't buy a newspaper. Now I don't buy newspapers. I don't have a radio in my house. My children do not consume news the way I would consume it. They see everything on TikTok or WhatsApp or iMessenger. So it has changed the way we consume information. And that is a change we have to recognize that is a real deep change. Other forms of technology may not have disrupted the media industry the way social media has, because it didn't change the way we behave. This is a deep psychological change that has happened.
So you see a lot of merit in what Ms. Davidson said, that probably, whoever her assessment was, that the fact that they were outgunned on the social media platform.
Yes, I mean, look, listen, and we see it on social media all the time. You can carve an image for yourself on social media and people will buy into it. You may not necessarily have to be the most honest. You may not have to be the most talented or good at what you do. But once you carve up a certain profile of yourself on social media, people buy into that. You can use social media to craft an image of yourself. And there are people who will buy into that. And we saw it with the American politics. We saw it with Trump. We saw how they use social media to motivate and capture their followers and to encourage them, and they still do. So it is a powerful platform, and we need to understand the psychology of it. We also need to understand how these platforms work, how the algorithms work, and that is something that's really important. There is a show on Netflix, there was a documentary on Netflix called The Social Experiment, I believe it is. And it really spoke about that, how the algorithms work. If you constantly reading a particular type of information, the algorithms, that feeds the computers. So they will then throw up even more information that you've been looking for. So you might be stuck in this thing where you're only seeing, for instance, if you are against vaccines and you're always searching for information about the ill effects of vaccines, all of a sudden that's all you will be seeing. And you will be caught in this walk where you think, well, this is real information, not realizing that there are other pieces of information out there that you could be looking at, but you're not looking at those. So we have to understand how these platforms work and how people use these platforms. There are companies that manipulate, that use the algorithms to their advantage to get messages across to people subliminally. So we have to understand how these things work and how effective and powerful they are.
I think the Facebook man sort of was called to account for some of that, Zuckerberg, about his improper use of manipulating the algorithms to meet people's presumed preferences and so on, right?
Yes. It's pretty dangerous if you only get all your information from social media. Everything social media is the end all and be all, and you're not willing to go. And a lot of people, unfortunately, are not going to do research on their own. They're not going to read. They're not going to. People buy into the information that feeds their emotion, mainly. So they are good with that. Not a lot of people are going to go beyond that and find the information that will challenge what they believe. People want to read what suits their beliefs.
Yeah, I tell you, it was sort of a rude awakening for me when I started being associated with this organization and doing this program, and the one before that, 10 Questions, and people will hear about it or come across something, and then they will say, well, you could send me a copy, and the people here will tell them we are available on all the social media platforms, and I didn't quite know how to express that to people, but I've come around to understand it, so that rather than somebody sending you physically a tape and so on, go on any platform where you find what you're looking for, and that's what they tell people around here now.
Yes, you're really doing yourself a disadvantage, I think, as a media company, if you're not using social media effectively. You really are, because it's a way of leading people back to your content. I mean, there are lots of people who put everything they have on social media. I don't agree with that. You need to have a home face stuff. You need to have a website. Social media is a complement to that. But it is definitely a way to direct people to your work.
Yeah, and then again, what I learned from that issue with Nicki Minaj and what she said about what happened to the man when he took the vaccine. And the point that people were making is that her following was in the millions, so that she's putting that out there.
Yes, that's why we have influencers, Andy. You have a lot of followers. Followers are currency. It is the way you monetize. It is the way that we don't have the capability, we don't have a lot of the functionality in this region to monetize our platforms. A lot of these companies haven't given us the full functionality, but for a lot of people abroad, that is the more followers you have, the more money you make. It is a money-making thing.
Yeah, and one of the things that again I wrestle with is the attention span it caters to, so that nothing can be too long and can be too detailed and so on. People take things.
Yes. And this is what I talk about, the human behavior. This is one of the ways it has changed the way we behave, the way we consume. So now everybody wants everything in bite-sized information. They want video. Video is huge when it comes to the dissemination of information from media houses. People want visual stimulation. They're not, I mean, I am still old school, Andy. I will still write a 1,500-word story because there's power in writing and those things live on forever. But other people are not going to sit down and read long think pieces or long features unless it's super, super engaging or it's very topical to something that, recently happened. People want visual stimulation. And when you look across the spectrum of media, you see there are a lot of media houses that do, globally, they will take the news and then, drill it down into these videos with these little captions, like 2-minute videos with captions that essentially gives you the basic information. I think it goes back to, what news was originally was, just giving people the who, what, where, why, when, and that's it.
Yes, and I mean, again, it's fascinating sometimes, you're watching CNN and you're seeing Anderson Cooper on CNN telling people to go to my podcast and you'll find this, that, and the other. And so
yeah, you have to, that's why I say it's not, the thing I like about it, Andy, what I like about digital media, which is not necessarily the same as social media, right? What I love about digital media is that it allows you the flexibility to do so many different things. You're not boxed into one way of doing things. So you can cover an event, write a 1,500-word article, but then take some of that information and make a TikTok video with it. Take some of that information and make a short video that you put on Facebook or Instagram. You know, you could then take that interview that you did, that you recorded, make a podcast out of it. You could do, if you did the interview on video, you could then extract the audio and make a podcast from it. You could take that video and put it on YouTube. There's so many things that you can do with the information that you capture. There's no one way anymore of doing it.
All right, I want to thank you very much. You were still nervous about having the discussion. You weren't sure where you go. Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Laura Dorridge. The value of digital media and social media. But before we go, let's just tell you to watch this. Jamaicans React to Soja, the all-white group that won the reggae category in the Grammys a couple of nights ago. Take a look. All right, and so the video we will get to in a moment, but we just note that there's this quarrel in Jamaica about the fact that an all-white group won a reggae segment, the reggae contest for the Grammys a couple of nights ago. Well, that's our broadcast for this morning then. We thank you for watching. We tell you could get in touch here with us at AM Prime at WENCC on all our social media platforms, and you can send your emails to amprime@wesncc.com. Well, the news at the top of the hour, followed by today's edition of Talking Point with Sean Small. But for now, social media or not, digital media or not, I'm Andy Johnson. Thanks for watching. We'll see you tomorrow.